From the possibility of a second season up in the air to how King George's legacy would play out. These are the new details about Season 2 of Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story revealed. In the first ever Bridgerton spin-off, Queen Charlotte managed to sweep fans off their feet. The spin-off shows how a young woman from northern Germany began her journey toward becoming the first ever Queen of Color. It also follows the young royal during the initial months of her marriage. She did it with grace and elegance, making a home in Buckingham Palace. The prequel was called a limited series, which means the chances of a second season are minimal. It's true that we might only see those 6 episodes of Queen Charlotte's love story and rule with George, because right now, it seems like there won't be a second part to the series. But don't lose hope yet. Limited series shows have evolved from pesky restrictions before. For example, The White Lotus, which was supposed to be a one-time thing. But because of that Emmy Award, it turned into a longer series. So who knows? We might get a surprise renewal if Queen Charlotte gets those sky-high ratings and if the cast and crew are excited to come back. Besides, if the fans have anything to say about it, there's definitely going to be a second season. But what does the cast think about the whole thing? Well, producer Shonda Rhimes has hinted that she'd be open to returning to the realm of Queen Charlotte, as long as she's asked to. Just like the show's devoted viewers, she's not sure if she's ready to say goodbye just yet. We feel you, Shonda. She shared that people have asked her a lot of questions about it, but she's choosing to stay silent about it. While Rhimes says she could spend her entire life with Charlotte and George, the story they told was very precise and conclusive, and in her opinion, it concludes the whole journey of their difficult relationship. But still, you never know. Several actors from the series, including India Amarteyfio, Arsema Thomas, and Sam Clement, have expressed an interest in reprising their roles because there's always another story to tell. If the show gets greenlit for a second season, they could finally tell the story of Brimsley and Reynolds. Fans sure do have a lot of questions about those two, because Season 1 set the stage for their epic story. Fans really think Lady Danbury's story is worth paying attention to, since she had to figure out who she was after her husband wasn't around anymore. It's clear that she put an end to her romance with Lord Ledger and is determined to never get married again. But still, how did she transform herself from that young girl who didn't know her true self to a woman who carries herself with so much grace that you can't help but bow down? Aside from completing certain stories, a prequel means that the parent show, Bridgerton, is still going strong. That's something that showrunners can always use to tell stories in a way that'll have fans hooked. So we've been watching Charlotte and George being totally in love and married for 50 years, but things have changed a lot in the kingdom during that time. Now, if the show decides to make a second season, we've got lots more to see. The next episodes could be all about Queen Charlotte when she was young, facing some tough times in their marriage. Or we might even learn more about George's illness and how it got worse over time. They can also show how society reacted to having more people of color around, which could stir up some drama for sure. Oh, and the writers might even take inspiration from real events to come up with these storylines. But if they stick to the series being a one-off, then the OG cast of the show probably won't make a comeback to the screen. And that would be devastating for fans, because they did a fantastic job of allowing them to witness younger versions of their favorite characters. But there could be a chance that the cast might make an appearance on the parent show, maybe in a flashback. And I, for one, would love that. There are at least 50 years worth of stories to tell, and fans would be thrilled to see the young Violet Ledger being courted by Edmund Bridgerton, the love story that gave birth to such beautiful children, and the show we all know and love. Even with one season, Queen Charlotte has managed to set up the 3rd season of Bridgerton beautifully. In the past year, Lady Whistledown has barely taken any days off between the Bridgerton seasons, because she had to use her free time to put together the events of Queen Charlotte: A Bridgerton Story, which took place while Season 2 of Bridgerton was still airing, and Season 3 didn't even have a release date. That's some serious dedication right there. There's still a lot happening in Regency Britain's present days, despite the Shonda Rhimes spinoff. Even in Bridgerton, Charlotte has her work cut out for her, and the Queen needs to persuade her sons to settle down, which is already a lot, even though I left out all the drama going on behind closed doors at the Bridgerton and Danbury homes. The Crown's going through a serious problem right now, and it's a big mess, because nobody knows who's going to be in charge next. Even the all-knowing Whistledown can't keep track of all the juicy rumors flying around. But regardless of whether they were reported in the Society's journals or not, one thing is certain. Season 3 of Bridgerton will undoubtedly be affected by everything that went down in the spin-off. The focus of the third season is going to be the developing romance between Penelope and Colin Bridgerton, which is based on the fourth book in Julia Quinn's Bridgerton trilogy, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. Although the third season has a lot of unresolved issues for Penelope, there's still more to be explored between Agatha and Violet, too. You see, before Lord Danbury's death, Agatha wasn't feeling any lovey-dovey stuff for her husband at all. But then something changed when she started finding comfort in the company of Lord Ledger, and their relationship became serious. Agatha began exploring her own identity without Lord Danbury by taking walks around her property. And guess what? She unexpectedly bumped into Lord Ledger there, who also happened to enjoy going for walks, especially when it meant avoiding his own wife. Their friendship quickly grew into something more passionate, and even though they only spent one night together, Queen Charlotte believes Lord Ledger will carry their love with him for the rest of his life. Lady Danbury finally got to experience the joy she'd been missing all this time. But here's the catch. Lord Ledger and Lady Danbury may have parted ways, but Agatha and Violet grow up to be very close friends. Despite observing many strange interactions between her father and the young Agatha Danbury, little Violet remains blissfully unaware of their relationship. But as she gets older, Lady Bridgerton starts to put the pieces together. She visits her friend's home and ends up picking up a colorful and rather familiar paper crown that tells her more than she ever needed to know, leading to a rather awkward tea time with her friend Agatha. So season 3 has to focus on the gem that's their friendship and how Lady Danbury guides Violet on grooming her garden years after her husband's passing. While these two walk through their own issues, Queen Charlotte has some fresh, unfinished business of her own as well. Will her now widowed son, Prince George, find himself a new wife in Bridgerton? In her self-titled miniseries, Queen Charlotte's got her fair share of issues to handle. And that too, right after her marriage to King George. In the Regency era, though, Her Majesty needs to avoid a problem with the royal family's future. That comes up when the wife of the next in line to the throne, Prince Regent, dies while pregnant, and the baby doesn't survive either. So, ignoring the loss that her son has faced, the Queen sets herself firm on the mission of finding an heir for George's legacy. Although Charlotte was determined to marry off her children to whoever she deemed worthy so that an heir would be ensured, it didn't exactly come to that. After some unrest at Buckingham Palace, Prince Edward and his wife, Princess Victoria, inform the monarch that they're expecting a child. So all that's left to see is whether this royal baby plays an important role in Bridgerton Season 3. Fans think that the royals being back in the game to find a match and tackle their sorrow of all they've lost would be an amazing narrative to explore in Season 3. So from how King George's legacy would play out in the Bridgerton world to the possibility of a second season being up in the air, those were all the new details about the second season of Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story revealed.